Sunday. So school shopping for my son because he starts his second year of pre-K
Nice.
today because he's a September 19th baby. So he is kind of, that late person who gets to go to preschool again, which is cool for him. And so he got started today at the Waterford School. He was very excited. And he has a half day today, then he starts doing full days.
That's awesome. Well, my son did that too. He was born October 3rd. The deadline here is the last day of September.
Yeah.
All right. So good policies. That's what we call this. And we work on the intricacies here of explaining the insurance industry.
Ugh.
We've talked about all kinds of things and something to think about.
Something to think about.
Husbands and wives.
And every once in a while, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be repeated a lot, actually. I think I've said it a few times. When things come across my desk, sometimes they're things that make me go, to quote a 90s song.
Yeah.
It's something I've seen really quite frequently this past summer, and that is husbands and wives not on the same auto insurance.
Now, why would that be? Why would somebody do that?
The cases that I've run into are folks who've been married, whether they are newlyweds within the first couple of months, or I've even had a few that are within the first year or two or three or four or five. And what is the problem with that? Now, first, let's say that auto insurance does differ from company to company. Okay, so again, this is a general conversation, and I'll preface it with this as well. Companies like, I believe State Farm still does it. I believe Horace Mann still does it, where every vehicle you have essentially has its own policy number. Okay, so that's pretty common with them. So obviously, and I don't represent either, but obviously their contracts read away in a way that prevents what I'm about to discuss from happening. I'd have to believe it. So auto insurance follows a vehicle. All right, so if you're a husband and wife, and husband's insured with company X and wife is insured with company Y, wife is driving. It doesn't matter which car she's driving, but let's say she's driving her husband's car, which obviously I just said, insurance follows the vehicle, gets into a horrific accident. Now, the husband's insurance is going to pay for it, but let's say the husband's auto insurance liability doesn't have appropriate limits, or the accident, God, was so bad that those limits were exhausted, even if they were fairly sufficient. They're going to go after the wife's auto insurance. All right. So why is that bad? That is essentially stacking liability. So company Y does not know about the other person, the spouse, who by definition isn't insured on the policy. So that's the big thing. Companies do not like having multiple policies for households of people who are going to be considered insureds by the contract.
Now, is this most common when people do, as you just said, they share vehicles? I mean, I know my girlfriend and I, she drives her Cruise, I drive my car, and very seldom does she drive mine.
Right. And you're not husband and wife, so there's no definition to be concerned about on this one. We're husband and wife. On a home or an auto policy, the spouse is considered an insured. Not necessarily the defined named insured, but certainly an insured by the policy, which would allow coverage to be stacked if you have two separate policies. So companies would then be not knowing who they're insuring. So let's say the spouse has a bad driving record.
That was going to be one of my questions. Is this maybe one of the reasons that husbands and wives would
certainly would be. Plus, just additional the company paying something that they wouldn't expect to be paying. But yeah, if they have a SR22 financial responsibility filing or DUI or horrible driving record with multiple speeds, cell phone violations, which by the way, cell phone violations are becoming a higher issue for cost for folks trying to get insurance. So it's just an exposure the companies don't want to take. They don't want to unknowingly be insuring somebody. So that's the reason why companies don't really want that. But why should you do that anyway? Is there? Let's say both husband and wife have clean driving records, no issues, no problems. Husband is with one, wife is with another. You're missing out on my favorite discount of all insurance, and that is the multi-vehicle discount.
Right. I was going to say, because common sense in our conversations in the past have said that if you do it together. Now, or also, I want to make sure I understand this is with the same company.
Doesn't
right?
even have to be the same company in the example I'm giving. We're just talking auto all by itself. Yes, certainly if you go with the company that insures your renter's insurance or home, certainly you could see some additional crediting and savings. But, multi-car discounts, especially for full coverage vehicles specifically, you're talking significant savings. It could be between $150 to over $200 each vehicle that you're losing out on great crediting opportunities.
Now, you just said that they don't have to be on the same policy, but you're saying multi-vehicles would be through Barrett Insurance Agency.
Multi-vehicles would be through the company that you're insured with.
Okay.
So if you're with one company, it doesn't matter what company it is, every single company offers a multi-vehicle discount. So take full advantage of that. That's just such a good thing to have. Plus, by aligning yourselves into the same policy, you're really being able, you're kind of revisiting something that maybe you haven't thought much about since you were 16 or 18 or 21 when you were first getting your own vehicles. Now you're kind of looking at things going, well, how do we want to make sure we're protected? And you can have that dialogue with the company or the insurance agent that you're working with. But my goodness, I mean, I actually have everyone that I've come across, I've successfully convinced, whether I've written it or not, I've successfully convinced them to get together. Because the savings itself should be motivation, but companies, again, they just really don't like that. And how does that work when maybe you yourself have two policies? So maybe you have a policy for your daily driver, but then you have a 1979 or 1966, what have you, a classic or an antique vehicle. There are companies that specifically write those. In that case, it's more appropriate for you to have that specific type of policy. It's not so much of a concern for you having to, because that's just the way the industry accepts it. Companies aren't so against that. But certainly take full advantage of what's available to you.
Well, and too, if I can remember in the past, I've been asked when I've gotten quotes for insurance, they say, "Are you married?" Because that can save you money too, because the way I understand it, you're less of a risk, you're more responsible, supposedly more mature. And you know how
exactly. I got one company in particular. Yeah, the second you're married, at age 25 is typically when you start to see your insurance drop down. But if you're married from age 21 on to 25, you see that discount a little earlier with one of these companies. So again, it's just about understanding the risk that you have, the exposures that you have, and the protection that you need. That's the biggest thing right there.
Have the dialogue with your partner.
Yeah.
And with the insurance agency.
Right. Every single one of them goes, really? I'm paying, how much more am I paying for my insurance than I need to?
Well, a couple $300 a month, a chunk of change.
It really is. And it adds up so quickly. And while stacking a liability may be good for you, it's bad for companies. And truth be told, companies are in this to make money, not spend money. So that's why it's really in the best interest of all parties to be appropriately insured. That's why when you have a youthful operator, I see this one a lot too, real quick. Mom and dad get a nice vehicle for a son or a daughter and realize it's going to cost so much money to have them on their policy. I've seen people get quotes to have them, the parent, written elsewhere and have the child on their policy as a secondary. And
so
again,
down.
It's not good. Don't do it that way. While the savings are awesome, I'm not going to lie. Savings are great when you do it that way. That is not appropriate, and misrepresentation can cause a gray area, and a gray area can cause what? No money to be paid on a claim.
Big problems.
Or at least a reduced payment amount. So towing the line, while it can be more expensive than any of us would like, it's more appropriate because you're really insuring your risk the way you should be.
All right. So folks want to have a conversation with Mike Barrett at Barrett Insurance Agency.
Give us a call. We're open today, 748-5224. Visit our website, thebarrettagency.com, or on Google, Facebook, and YouTube as Barrett Insurance Agents.
Mike, thanks an awful lot.
Have a great day.
Great to have you in here again.
All right.
All right. We'll do it again next week. It's Good Policies with Magic in the Morning, and this is Ariana Grande's Day.